funness on them,
Good show's a good way to describe us.
pretty much. Drinking 13% beer, so
Nice. I am not. I left that one in the fridge.
they Buzz Bomb did another barrel aged bar fight.
Hold on. You should hold this until the actual segment for it because I
Yes,
started
I will.
recording 30 seconds ago.
All right,
So
perfect.
we're actually live right now, and I still haven't hit the intro.
Sometimes you just gotta go cold open.
Sure. Welcome to Beerfield Fantasy Football. I am your host at Hot BFF with 2 P's coming to you from Collinsville, Illinois. I think I've been saying St. Louis still. I don't think I've transitioned. Or maybe I just haven't said it in a while. I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe.
I don't recall. It's just like so natural, and then I caught myself. Anyway, joined by Thury BFF, Dan Thury, who is glowing. Literally.
I'm glowing. Well, just really excited. I was telling Chris off there that our Benny's, my job is putting Miller Lite on sale for about $10.99 if you buy 2 of them. And we're just basically talking about how much of a shit show that's going to be on top of other things going on sale, because what's one thing that you want to have during a potential shutdown and people panic buying, that's putting cheap beer at a cheap price.
A good point. I don't get to worry about that. I have so much beer and whiskey that I could survive a pandemic.
You can survive a few of them, probably.
I think so. Hey, before we get started, first off, follow the show on YouTube, Beerfield Fantasy Football. Subscribe, hit the like button. Know when we go live, come hang out, interact with us. In addition to doing every show that we have live there, where you can ask questions and interact or chastise or whatever, Nick is back for the remainder of the season with me on Sundays. So
I am off next Sunday.
You are?
This upcoming Sunday. So
okay, so Nick probably won't be here then.
No, we just won't tell Nick.
Or
and
will
then I
he
just
be
randomly
here?
show up.
Okay, yeah, I can just put if he doesn't listen to this, he'll never know. I'll go ahead and put the meeting ID and stuff in the group chat, and then you can actually be here for it, and we can do a threesome. Wait.
Oh my god.
Wait,
It'll
what?
be the best threesome ever.
But before we it does give us quorum when we disagree. That isn't a freaking bottle cap. So
Yes, it is a lot better. Things tend to go smoother when we're not trying to give out fantasy advice based on a Dragon's Milk bottle cap or In the Shoes bottle cap that I was flipping for the longest time and getting wrong every week.
all right, before we get started, there's something that I need to address on a personal note. President of baseball operations for the Cubs, Theo Epstein, steps down today. And so I have to give a public thank you, Theo, if you're listening.
I know you are.
I know you are. 9 years ago when you showed up to the team, things were dire. Constant rebuild. Hadn't been competitive in 2 to 3 years by that point in time. Hadn't sniffed the World Series since 2003. And took a lot of trust in a full rebuild. But delivered something a lot of people don't get in their life. Just ask Vikings fans. But a championship.
Wolves fans, Twins fans after 91.
Yeah.
Wild fans.
Yeah. A championship.
Championship.
And that remains one of the happiest days of my life. And remains one of the most memorable things of my life. There were tears. The rally was awesome. And yeah, just a heartfelt thank you to one of the best in sports, and the Bears could use you if, you decide that you want to challenge football or something.
Some of the greatest moments of me, like I moved, so for the listeners out there who may not know, I moved to Springfield, Illinois, the year the Cubs won the World Series. So you're welcome. And
I know where this is going.
Some of the greatest Kris moments happened even before the World Series had even started. When you guys won
the ZNLCS.
Yeah, when you guys won that I've seen drunk Hopper. I've seen belligerently drunk Hopper. I have not seen the Cubs are going to the World Series for the first time in 100 fucking years. Drunk Hopper. So I've gone back and forth. I like to fuck with both Cardinals and Cubs fans and talk shit about both teams. I don't really care about baseball because the Twins are the Twins, but it was just a hell of a time.
That was
down here.
That night I had drinking about a fifth of Jim Beam before I ever made it downtown, and was drunk heel clicking through downtown, and lost a shoe. So yeah, I remember that night vaguely. I do remember losing a shoe though. So that was the thing. All right. Today's show, we're going to do some temperature checks. We're going to do a little bit of playoff push priming. Not the playoffs yet, but we are getting into last 3 weeks before most teams start their playoff push. This is where seasons are made or broken. So going to try to give you some real analysis on that, some schedules, some temp checks on some guys that may be out there on waivers for you to pick up. It is Tuesday, so there you go. We're just going to also service some buy-sell trades. Got a few pre-listed. I'm sure we'll pick up a few more or spout off a couple more as they come to mind. And then we'll preview Week 11 for you. But before we do that, we got to tell you all what we're drinking. Well, I still do. Dan kind of gave it up at the very beginning.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Dan, remind people, if just in case they weren't.
Just in case. So I am drinking Springfield's own Buzzbomb's Bar Fight Brown. It's their barrel aged. This is their second rendition of this. Last time, their first time they did it for their batch 100, they did a rum barrel age. This is a 15-month Four Roses bourbon barrel age Bar Fight Brown, and I will tell you. Right now, it tastes nothing like a brown. So I'm first few sips. Spoiler alert. This is a lot of fun. More on this as when I find a good time to actually talk about it.
All right, and this is a lot of fun too. And I think you may have had this on here, Dan. I don't recall, but I have not yet. So it's my turn. Squishy Gummy from Noon Whistle.
I don't think I've had that one. Those are all fantastic beers.
Yeah. They're from Lombard and Naperville, Illinois, so both of those up north in the Chicago area. This is southeast pale ale. Northeast IPA. So any IPA typically going to be hazy, juicy. So we'll give you a full rundown here about halfway through the episode. Let's go ahead and hit some news first because we got a lot of a weirdly absurd amount of quarterback related stuff to talk about.
News.
All right, we'll start it off with something very not fun. Broncos quarterback Drew Lock, severe rib strain and bruising, no fractures, considered day-to-day. But good chance he does not play against the Dolphins this week. That would mean Brett Rippon is in line to start. Blake Bortles potentially getting a practice squad call up if Locke can't go. So something to monitor throughout the week. Going to be real hard to start any Broncos if they're running Brett Rippon out against the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's if you're a Denver's fan, dark days are ahead. I guess. As for fantasy purposes, if Drew Lock is the future, this might be the best time for the Broncos to shut him down as much as they can. They're not making the playoffs this year. They're not making any sort of so it's better to protect what is right now your franchise quarterback. We'll have to see what this weekend looks like. Who steps up. But as of right now, as you just said, it's hard to trust anybody. Both Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, likely try to not to play him. Noah Fant if you have to.
Yeah, Noah Fant might be the only one I'm interested in. The backs have not been doing much either. Kyle Kyle Shanahan hopeful that the Niners get Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, and Deebo Samuel back following their Week 11 bye. I say this because Mostert and Deebo are waiver grabs. I know that you're, especially Mostert, if he was dropped for any reason.
It's especially with Jermichael Hasty going on IR.
Yep. Broken collarbone for Hasty. McKinnon's been solid, not spectacular. And Coleman in his time there has just not been flat out not great. So
he's been so inconsistent. Like the 4 touchdown game against Green Bay in the playoffs, and then you'll get games where
23 yards and nothing.
Yeah, like this is the problem with Kyle Shanahan. Coach backfields. It's he plays out an approach. He approaches the position how I think most teams should, and that's just grabbing late round flyers, UDFAs, and then just riding them out there and see what happens. He's that good of a coach, has that good of a scheme where he'll find his guy at any point in time.
Which is why it's frustrating. Pete Carroll, another one that's had a tendency to do that throughout the years, and
when he did do it, the guy couldn't stay healthy. So
right. Packers activated Alan Lazard from IR. More on that in a minute. Matthew Stafford, partial tear in his throwing hand thumb. So going to see how he looks in practice throughout the week. He has not been ruled out. Honestly, not expected that he may miss time. Going to all depend on how he practices throughout the week. Chase Daniel is your backup there.
If the Lions weren't in playoff contention, he's probably sitting. How much can you really trust any of these receivers? He's not going to be able to throw it deep, right? Like he's going to have to wear a cast or something of some sort to protect, that part of his hand. So
probably a
lot
wrap,
of handoffs.
Probably a wrap of some sort, and handoffs, intermediate to mid-range stuff. And again, it depends on how the ball's leaving his hand and how much it's actually impacting him. No word if it was the UCL ligament or a different one either. So you don't really know what it's impacting there.
Gross.
So something to keep an eye on. But more on that on Sunday. Be sure to Beerfield Fantasy Football on YouTube for more on that on Sunday. Like,
hit
subscribe,
button,
hit the bell, so you know when we go live. Although it's probably going to be about 10:15. Teddy Bridgewater expected to be limited in Wednesday's practice after suffering an MCL sprain. MRIs were damn near clean, so it's being turned to minor MCL sprain. I would expect him to go. PJ Walker, if he can't, and that is a very, very solid backup in terms of athleticism. Calvin Ridley did some work off to the side, still very much questionable this week against the Saints, so keep an eye on, monitor that situation. That figures to be a barn burner of points, even with Drew Brees potentially out. He suffered 5 fractured ribs and a collapsed lung. Jameis Winston, the backup there. Sean Payton being very, very mum on who's going to start, but I think everybody's anticipating that it's going to be Jameis Winston, not Taysom Hill, just like it was Teddy Bridgewater last year, not Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I think my favorite moment of last night was Booger McFarland comparing Jameis Winston and Teddy Bridgewater, saying they're essentially the same quarterback.
Not at all.
Where in fact they are completely fucking different from each other. One's safe and doesn't throw picks. The other one's a gunslinger who throws 30 picks and 30 touchdowns in the season.
Yeah, and you hope that Sean Payton has corralled that a little bit. Jameis did look efficient when he had to come in and relief of Brees for the second half of last week's game. But Winston will work the ball downfield. He will take risk, and that is not Teddy's game at all. So, that being said, though, Taysom Hill is, by a lot of estimations, too important to other parts of the game outside of quarterbacking to really want to stick him back there at quarterback, but also want to risk him getting hurt doing the other things he does while he is playing quarterback, such as being a special teams ace and running the Wildcat packages. So it's firmly expect Jameis Winston.
Yeah, just on a fun note, whatever a platform you use for fantasy, make sure you pay attention to how they actually classify Taysom Hill. I know some of them have already changed them to just strictly quarterback, but if you can find them as a tight end and a QB, or just a tight end in general, a lot of value to him because he's going to see some Wildcat plays. They're probably going to have him throw. Like, he may not look great, but he may just back himself into a stream-worthy tight end week.
Well, and the other note on Taysom Hill and why I don't think why you can pretty much safely assume this is going to be Jameis Winston, even though Sean Payton isn't coming out and saying it, is that he's, as far as a passer, he doesn't even have passing. He's not
throwing
here.
The ball more than like 10 times, or like he won't throw it more than a handful of times. But he's going to be out there more.
He's thrown 4 times this season, as much as he's out there. He's thrown 4 times. So he hasn't thrown enough for him to have rushing and receiving stats at the top of his page. You have to go about halfway down his Pro Football Reference page to find that. He's 18 attempts in his career over the last 3 years. 10 of 18. No touchdowns, 1 interception. For somebody that's on the field as much as him, if they trusted him to throw the ball, he would have filled and really thought he was the future. Thought he would have filled in for Breeze last year. He would have filled in. They wouldn't have signed Jameis Winston. They would have just rolled with Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
By the way, as far as the offense with Jameis Winston, and I think Jameis, I don't see a huge drop off between old Drew Brees and Jameis and what that offense has been doing at all. It's been mostly Alvin Kamara. I think that you can still run the full offense with Jameis under center.
Yeah, like you may actually see Michael Thomas actually run more than just 5 to 8 yard slants.
Hell, if Traquan Smith's healthy or Emmanuel Sanders can make it back, you may see more of those classic deep shots that made, Ted Ginn so annoying for a long time, or Kenny Stills so annoying for a long time. You may see Deontay Harris running more of those deep routes. So,
yep.
Or, Emmanuel Sanders stretching the field a bit. So just some things to keep an eye on there with Jameis. It may actually make more people fantasy. Not saying he's better than Breeze, but at this point, it may add another dimension to the offense because of the arm Jameis has versus Breeze at this stage in his career.
Exactly.
Speaking of arms, because this guy has 2 of them, and I don't have a lot else to say, Nick Foles did not suffer a fractured hip. Scope of his injury from Monday night still remains uncertain. Foles isn't able to go. You'd look towards Mitch Trubisky, which is an upgrade for the offense. And if not, Tyler Bray, who didn't even have his name in ESPN. So, unknown player was what he was classified as. So
it's gross. Nothing changes for the actual playmakers. It's still Robinson. That's just kind of it.
Yeah, it is Robinson, and that's just kind of it. Darnell Mooney's been getting plenty of targets. I just think it's an overall improvement for the offensive potency if you end up with Trubisky. I think Trubisky could have some flex value because of his rushing and how bad that offensive line is.
Maybe the Saints or maybe the Bears can go try to take Drew Lock or try to take Blake Bortles off the practice. They're like, hey, got your boy over here. Come on.
Well, if there's one thing we learned from those last 2 throws last night, it's that you don't want to trust Tyler Bray to throw a football.
I don't want to see Tyler Bray throw another football ever. So let's just
it was so bad. Happen. Yeah, Ryan Nall on that check down, and you're like, all right, it might be something going, and then you just threw the next 2 not even within 5 yards of the guy.
Robinson's like, are you fucking kidding me again? Like, right. I have to deal. I gotta go for Bortles, Trubisky, the Foles, the God knows who else, and fucking Tyler Bray.
Tyler Bray. He misses.
What the hell?
He misses Blake. He's got to miss Blake at this point.
He's it's gone down the shitter so bad for him. He probably holds a picture of Blake the way that a Wolverine game goes. And just, I miss you.
I should make that one. Oh my god, yeah, it's really bad. But from an analysis standpoint, Bears offense does become more potent with Trubisky under center. That's not just my opinion. I mean, they were winning games with Trubisky under center. You still felt like they had a chance in these last minute drives, or when they got the ball in their hand, you at least felt like, okay, well, this might not be a 3 and out. Now with Foles, it's just like, yeah, this is gonna be a 3. There's no way around it. There's going to be 2 bubble screens and a run to Cordero Patterson.
That's like watching the worst Vikings offense. Andy Dalton.
Yeah, Andy Dalton. That's not what I was looking for. I was actually checking Player Profiler to see if there was anything else updated on Stafford, because that broke right before we came on the air, if you will.
I get you.
Andy Dalton's off the reserve COVID-19 list, though. Cleared from concussion protocol. He'll be starting again for Dallas. It's an upgrade to everybody over definitely Ben DiNucci. Garrett Gilbert looked somewhat serviceable, but yeah, they need Andy Dalton.
Yeah, now I can actually trust CeeDee Lamb in leagues I have him in.
Yeah.
Maybe even Dalton Schultz again, oddly enough.
Yeah, no, and potentially Amari Cooper, too. Weirdly. Maybe.
All
right. Let's get into some temperature checks. So what this is basically pulled up Player Profiler, looked at the last 2 weeks. Or not Player Profiler, sorry. Fantasy Pros. Looked at the last 2 weeks where some guys ranked. Picked out some guys near the top I wanted to get a temperature check on, and then we'll look at some other things. Maybe find some guys near the bottom, some guys that just come to mind as we go. See where we're at with them. Look at their next couple weeks worth of schedule. See how we feel. So, starting at the quarterback position before we start jumping around, I want to look at Teddy Bridgewater first. As QB5 over the last 2 weeks, 24 points a game. Detroit and Minnesota leading into the bye week. So, he does have a late bye. Part of just schedules being swapped around and rearranged and everything. So, does have a late bye. But Detroit and Minnesota coming up makes Teddy Bridgewater, despite the knee, I think a very, very viable player to get you through the next 2 weeks, and you should be floating around out there in a lot of 1 QB leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like matchups against Detroit never seem to go as well as we think. It's the same way, when we talk about them, on the offense side of the ball and just how disappointed it's been, especially in these, plus matchups. If Stafford definitely can't go, or if it does look like that he's not looking great, this could turn into Bridgewater game management. Mike Davis, just kind of takes over the game type of feel. It looks good on paper. I'm not as excited about it. I guess Minnesota though, I think that game could be a sneaky shootout. As both offenses are elite. CMC, I won't say elite, are good. CMC should be back, and both defenses suck.
Yeah. For Bridgewater, over the last 4 weeks, he does have a 300-yard game, 7 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. Passer rating is good. Completion percentage has been good all season. So if you're, in quarterback peril, if you're streaming quarterbacks, if you maybe got off to a good start or sitting fringe and lost Dak and are streaming quarterbacks, Bridgewater's a guy that you can ride out a little bit. Denver in week 14. It's a little dicey. It's still not terrible for him.
He's had back-to-back rushing touchdowns. Got 3 on the season.
Yep.
So you'll look at the kind of the, we'll say, piss poor passing stats. 2 of his last 3, but again, being saved by rushing touchdowns are obviously. So.
Right, and piss poor doesn't mean he was bad by any means. It's efficient offense to where he's sub 200 yards and not throwing for 3 or 4 touchdowns, but completion percentage is still there. He just only threw the ball less than 25 times. So
yeah, his pass attempts, if you look at his game log, it's so erratic.
Yeah. So a lot of that's going to be game script. He threw 49 times against Kansas City. Yep. They were close against Atlanta. Got blown out by Tampa, but he was hurt after a bit. So, you're not going to get blow-up games out of Teddy, but if you need something safe, great option for you.
Yeah, I agree with it.
Now, on to somebody you will get blow-up games out of, though. So I would consider my temperature on Teddy lukewarm. He's like the Thanksgiving turkey when you go back for seconds.
I like that. He's like, he's like the food, the warm food. Like, you like it, you don't crave it. You're glad it's there. It gets the job done, but it's not going to blow you away.
It's not hot and fresh.
It's not hot and fresh, yeah.
But I would consider this next one to be a little bit more hot and fresh. Justin Herbert, is cute for the next 2 weeks anyway. QB6, 22.5 points per game the last 2 weeks. Did have a little bit of a down week this past week. Gets the Jets and the Bills the next 2 weeks. Bills' defense has been giving up points all over the place. And we know that the Jets are just absolutely god-awful. But Chargers' defense is also absolutely god-awful. And that's the thing that you crave out of Justin Herbert is, unlike Teddy, Herbert is in these situations where he does, where games can get not close. He does have to pass a ton. And, we've seen him make good on that. He's had multiple 300-yard performances this year. Multiple 3 and 4 touchdown games this year. He's actually had multiple touchdowns every game since his second start. So, in that same time frame, he's got 2 300-yard games and all but one over 250. So, Jets, Buffalo, New England coming up for Justin Herbert. But I'm pretty bullish on Justin Herbert, to where if he's for some reason still out there and hasn't been picked up yet, I want to go for it. Or even if I just need an upgrade, I kind of want to go for it with Justin Herbert.
Like he is, like it looks great. Like, don't let last week. Miami's got a really good defense, extremely opportunistic. Their whole shtick is they're trying to get sacks and create turnovers. They're young, they're fast, and a lot of teams have kind of played down to the Dolphins essentially. So don't let that one game kind of put a sour taste in your mouth, because of how good Herbert's been since week 4. Really, I mean, he came out blazing his first 2 games he started, and then it just got like that week 4 through 7 stretch or 8 stretch, which is but yeah, he's the food that you want to grab first. He's like the cheesy potatoes for me.
The warm rolls being passed around for me.
He is, he's like the Hawaiian king rolls. Like,
there you go.
He's everything you want on your first plate, and then it's Teddy. Yeah. It's everything you want 20 minutes later when you wake up from a 15-minute power nap.
Yep. Looking beyond the Patriots also, which is kind of a game script neutral game. Patriots defense has not been amazing against the pass. They've not been terrible. Then you get the Falcons and the Raiders, though, in weeks 14 and 15, first 2 weeks of your playoff. Might not be able to ride them in the championship matchup against Denver, but Falcons Raiders week 14 and 15 are good playoff matchups for Justin Herbert.
I mean, he went against Denver, and granted, Denver came in comeback mode, so he didn't have to throw as much in the second half. I mean, he went 3 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah,
21 yards on the ground. So it's not like
it was a shutdown game where you couldn't start him if you didn't,
Yeah, so I think he should be rostered. He should be someone he's not an every week start. He's not a must start, but he's a high end streamer. And if things are looking gross, you're not gonna feel bad if you're throwing him out there.
326 and 2 against Vegas too. So we have some information against those 2 teams as well.
Yep.
All right, moving off the quarterback position, like I said, we'll double back on some of these depending on time here in a minute. I want to look at the running back position. Wayne Gallman, running back 7, 16.4 points per game, 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. Upcoming, he's on a bye this week, which means you don't really have to worry about him being grabbed if he is available, so go grab him a week early. And then he comes in and gets Seattle and Arizona.
Those are good matchups.
Which are great matchups for him. And looking beyond that into your playoffs, because Devonta Freeman's on IR and was terrible before he went on IR, Wayne Gallman was outperforming him. Sorry, I had to find the Giants. Their logo is not blue where I'm looking at. But anyway, he was outperforming Devonta Freeman before he went on IR. Looking beyond the Cardinals, who are week 14. Wow, I missed the Bengals in that too. So, got the week 11 bye, Bengals week 12, Seahawks week 13, Cardinals week 14, Browns in 15 before a bad championship matchup against the Ravens.
It's he's been
He's been productive.
He scored a touchdown in every game since week 7. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns.
Daniel Jones has been moving the offense up and down the field. Things have been, defense is still hot garbage, and they can't come up with critical plays when they need it, but the offense has been moving up and down the field at least.
I mean, so there's one caveat to this. Only one game at 4 yards per carry or higher.
Right.
During that stretch. He's a product of like what you want in your redraft, like what you want in season. Obviously, you want opportunity. And he's had double digit carries in those games. He's touchdown dependent. No game over 70 yards. 1 game or 2 games over 50. 1 game over 60. But from a production standpoint, like he's an RB2. If you get a touchdown, great. More of a flex, I guess, per se. He's had only 5 targets.
5 targets
over his last 3 games.
Yep. Now he has been over 50 yards in 2 of those 3 games. So even if he doesn't, he's your low side is RB3 for him without the touchdown. So he's still got flex value with upside given those matchups. So
he's a starter at this point, just given the running back landscape, just given injuries and COVID. Having a starting running back on your roster, you need to have one. If Gallman's out there for whatever reason, which would be shocking to me, you need to go get him. Whether or not you're going to play him or not, it's fine. He needs to be rostered. He needs to be owned. As long as he's the starter, which he's going to be started for the rest of the season because Barkley's out for the year. He's on that Teddy level for me, where it's like I don't hate it. I'm just not getting it.
He's the veggie.
He's Wayne Gallman.
He's the veggie tray to me. If we're talking Thanksgiving, he's the veggie tray.
All right,
which means that
I feel that
it's good for you. I should probably do it. I'm not gonna like it because there's nothing inherently enjoyable about it, except for the ranch dressing that's in the middle of it, and that's a touchdown upside. So there you go. Wayne Gallman is the Thanksgiving veggie tray.
Yeah, like if he scores a touchdown, he's the black olives. If he doesn't, he's the green olive. At least in my analogy.
I just don't like olives. So, Kalen Ballage. I can't believe I have to do this. Running back 11, 14.1 points per game. We already talked about the matchups Herbert have, and obviously they're the same for Ballage. Jets and Buffalo, a little bit rougher of a matchup against New England before he comes into good week 14 and 15 matchups. Thing with Kalen Ballage is it depends on what happens when other people around him get healthy, and that's what you have to watch. Troymaine Pope comes back. How's he going to mix in with Kalen Ballage? Justin Jackson comes off IR. How's he going to mix in with Kalen Ballage? Those are the things that you have to watch out for with Kalen Ballage because we know Joshua Kelly is not taking workload.
No, he's been bad.
It's going to be how do the other backs that have looked good in limited work mix in with Kalen Ballage when he comes back. Because Ballage has looked just as serviceable as Justin Jackson and Troymaine Pope in one game. So, to me, it's a mixed bag with Kalen Ballage. It's almost worth a flyer because of the matchups and because you have question marks there that could swing in his favor with how good he's been the last 2 weeks. But there's no guarantees with it.
I mean, Jets and Buffalo, two really good matchups. The offense has been productive. They're scoring points. And while Ballage, he's a blind bat out there. He'll get lucky every few carries. I'm not really concerned about Pope or Kelly. It's more so when Justin Jackson's finally healthy. And then Austin Eckler is still not out for the year. Like, I personally don't think he plays, but there's still a chance that he sees the field at some point. And then when that happens and he's fully healthy, the Ballage is droppable. But for the next couple of weeks, I think you do roster him. Again, we just said about Wayne Gallman being, he's gross, but at least he's a starter. As long as Justin Jackson is out, Ballage is your starter.
Well,
and he's going to get those snaps.
But do they try to mix in Troymaine Pope when he comes back, though? Because Troymaine Pope looked good before he was concussed. And that's where there's a little bit more risk to Balaj than Gallman.
Well, because he's a flex play. It's like it's. I'm trying to think of.
He's a flex play that doesn't have the insulated volume that Gallman has. Is basically where it's at for me. Gallman, is getting volume because he's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like him either. I think I don't want either. Like, I don't want to have to start either. I'm not gonna hate if I have to play both.
I'd rather like Gallman. I'd rather have Gallman over Balaj. I think.
I gotta look at his snaps. So he played 74% last week.
Yeah. Again,
the last 2 weeks, he's been with the team only for a few weeks. 43% against the Raiders, and then 74% this past week against the Dolphins. You can look at snap counts to see.
With Josh Kelly being the only other healthy back, though.
Yeah, it's
like turkey in general is for me. Where
like white meat, it's like white meat.
It is.
I'm
it's
a
like
dark meat guy.
I'm a dark meat guy too. It's like white meat turkey is for me, to where if it's moist and it's done exactly right, then I'm good with it. But if it's dry and hard to chew and so dry it's hard to swallow, and that's what Kalen Balaj is to me, because he's the moist turkey if he continues to get opportunity. But there's no guarantee when you bite into that white meat just on first sight that it's going to be moist. Just like there's no guarantee that Kalen Balaj is going to continue to get work with Troy Maine Pope and Justin Jackson coming.
So the one thing that's going to save Balaj is that he does get the pass catching work. At least, again, we don't know when Jackson comes back, but at least when it comes to Pope being there, if Jackson's out, Balaj is so your pass catcher. 9 targets his past 2 games is viable as a flex option.
He is a viable flex option. I'm not taking that away.
Yeah, that's it. That's all he is.
This is where we're at in 2020, folks. Wayne Gallman, Kalen Balaj comparison debate.
Why? Like,
who thought we'd be here?
What did we do? Who do we piss off in our prior lives to have this conversation? Can we talk about something a little more exciting?
Valdez-Scantling, because that's going to go a lot of the same way.
I know. Well, at least he's a bit more exciting.
Sure. So
I said a bit.
Sure. So Valdez-Scantling is a wide receiver 2 right now. 20.6 points per game. That's, he's kind of found a mini niche as a field stretching type of receiver with Allen Lazard out. The wide receiver 2 over the last 2 weeks. Problem with him is that he gets Indy and Chicago the next 2 weeks, which are not particularly good matchups, and Philly, which is also not a particularly great matchup, but it's better than Philly and it's better than Chicago and Indy. The other problem from Valdez-Scantling is that Allen Lazard was running away with the wide receiver 2 job, and he just got activated off of IR. So for Valdez-Scantling, I'm less optimistic on this, and you could be tempted to go out and grab it. Playoff matchup is solid with the Lions, Panthers, and Titans, but we haven't seen the Packers support more than 2 wide receivers this year because of the Robert Tonyan breakout, because of the fact that the running game has remained good, and because of the target share that Devontae Adams requires. Your worst case scenario is that neither Lazard or Scantling are viable. But, with Lazard coming back, I think that puts a dagger in Valdez-Scantling's upside, given how good he was before he went on IR.
Just don't play him. Like, for all the points you just stated, he's boom bust. The only reason he's a wide receiver, he's D2 right now over the past 2 weeks is because he scored 3 touchdowns. And he had a blow-up game last week on big plays against the Jaguars.
Yeah, he's
You don't play MVS. You sell him. If you have him in Dynasty, you try to move him after this stretch. Lazard may be slow to start off, but you're not playing MVS. If you're playing him, it's because you're desperate. You need to just throw somebody out there.
Yep. He's the cranberry sauce for me.
Which is my least favorite part.
It is my least favorite part. Yes, exactly.
He's that annoying cousin that you only see at the holidays that you do your absolute best to avoid.
Boom. There you go. Somebody that is not that. Jacoby Myers with Julian Edelman out. Jacoby Myers, 18.2 points per game. Decent games the last 2 weeks. Threw a touchdown this past week, so they'll gadget him a little bit. Completely operated the week prior to that in the Edelman role, going for 160? I think it was 169 yards.
Yep.
Was I spot on with that?
Yeah, he went for 169.
Holy shit. How did I remember that?
The previous week.
Yep.
Because he's your new bay.
Yeah. Myers is somebody that when he was drafted, he had an Edelman-type skill set. He was an intermediate range worker that was a good route runner with very, very sure hands and relatively athletic for the spot. That when he went to New England, you just knew it was a matter of time before he got the opportunity in that the way that offense runs to succeed at that. And he's got plus matchups coming up with Houston, Arizona, and the Chargers in the next 3 weeks. To me, Jacoby Myers is the stuffing. It's not going to disappoint you. Worst case scenario, it's going to be solid. Best case scenario, it's going to be exceptional. And there's nothing to not like about picking him up in starting him. And I don't think this is a flash in the pan thing. I think this is something that you'll see continue. As New England revamps, I think that they have a building block in Jacoby Myers. After the Chargers, they get the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Bills. So the Dolphins is not a fantastic matchup. But again, the way he plays, he's going to see volume too. So he's almost matchup proof.
Here's Jacoby Myers. He is a lesser Terry McLaurin to the point where there's nobody else that's going to command target volume. Over his last 3 games, 98% or higher snap share, 79% in week 7. N'Keal Harry played 60% of the snaps. He is completely done. Newton has his eyes on Myers. When Edelman comes back, if he plays, again, I'm not sure what his status is. I don't think that matters. They trust him. He had a tough matchup against Baltimore in shitty weather. Still has 7 targets, 5 catches. And threw a touchdown, as you just said. It doesn't matter who he plays because he's going to get the volume. He hasn't scored a touchdown this year, so he doesn't have the upside. The Patriots' offense sucks. They're always going to be within games, or they're playing from behind, which you want, from your fantasy rosters, you want a receiver that's the go-to guy on a bad offense that plays from behind. Like that, he won't get touchdowns, but he'll give you, floor games. He's basically what you want Adam Humphries every year. He is. If Hopper had to draw a picture of a perfect fantasy receiver he wants, Jacoby Myers is the base of that model. It's not that hard.
Bro,
in Dynasty, this is a completely different story. But for redraft, and right now for your playoff runs, you need to, you don't trade him off. He's too valuable right now for your team.
Yeah. No, it's not that hard. You don't trade him off. He's valuable to your team. You start him with confidence in redraft. And in Dynasty, I still don't know that you sell him because of Edelman being 30 plus and N'Keal Harry not being able to stay healthy and not really having shown much anything. And again, just the role that Myers is capable of playing, I don't even know that you sell him at this point either in Dynasty. I think that he's a hold.
I'm indifferent. The Patriots are we don't know what the future holds. We don't even know if Belichick comes back. Cam Newton's on a 1-year deal. We don't know what this offense looks like next year. And all it takes is one regime change. The problem with Myers is he doesn't have investment value to the team. Outside of him being good in the stretch, he's basically what Chris Carson is every year, what Philip Lindsay has been, where he's more valuable to the person who has him, but to everybody else, it's when is the gig going to be up? We got a question. MathQuest wants to know, is Damian Harris an RB1 in a week?
Damian Harris is not an RB1 because his upside is cap. Now, that doesn't mean he's not a weekly starter because you're starting more than most running backs in or starting more than one running back a week. But to me, he's not an RB1 the rest of the way because the touchdown upside with Cam Newton there is severely capped, and there's no receiving upside to his game with James White there.
2 targets all season.
Exactly. 2. So, that being said, he's given them a spark between the tackles. I'm not worried about Sony Michel when he comes back. He's taken everything away from Rex Burkhead, who's been relatively healthy, and he's definitely shown value in that regards, which gives him that RB2 type of status because he is picking up work. The other thing that you have to look at is rest of season, what are his matchups? So, as we go to week 11, Texans, Cardinals, good matchups. Chargers, very solid matchup. Rams, Dolphins, the next 2 weeks, not quite as good. Bills in week 16, very, very solid. To me, he's in kind of that mid-teens range rest of season. He's probably going to be somewhere between the 14 and the 18, if you had to ask me. And again, it's just limited touchdown upside and limited receiving upside that has me a little mum on Damian Harris this year. I like Damian Harris. I love the player. I love the talent. I love that he has shown he can do it between the tackles, and any other quarterback under center besides Cam Newton, that touchdown upside is going to be there, and we're not knocking him on that. But the world he's in right now, I think he doesn't have... He's missing 2 main components to have that running back 1 upside.
The problem with him is it's also game script. I mean, on paper, Houston, Arizona, and Buffalo in week 16 or Chargers are all good matchups. It's whether or not the Patriots can maintain pace with these teams, cannot be blown out. As soon as they feel like the game's out of hand, we're going to see more Rex Burkhead. We're going to see more James White. That's where Harris's downfall lies in. When he's been playing, he's been hyper productive. He's the opposite of Wingone. The point where you want to see him out there more because he's been efficient, over 5 yards per carry over his past 4 games. Those are things you want to see. As you just mentioned with Cam Newton, he vultures touchdowns. Like, that's just what this offense is. And when you have limited touchdown upside, given how mediocre this Patriots offense is, it's going to severely cap what your ceiling could be. You're just praying that they can keep pace. It's basically what you want, and you're going to throw him out there in plus matchups because he's been efficient. Just got to hope that he can maybe steal a touchdown from Newton, and that the Patriots defense can keep up with him.
Yep. So to me, this is a 2-part question. Running back 1, no. Weekly starter, yes, with the exception of potentially week 15 against the Dolphins.
Yeah, he's a flex play every week with upside. It might to put a bow on it. He's a flex play every week.
Yep. All right, cool. That ate up some time actually. So there's one more player I know that I want to get to. Okay. As we run through this, I didn't have this written down, but it is somebody that I think deserve talking about. One I think is less obvious than the other. I want to talk about Salvon Ahmed.
Washington. Miami likes their Washington running backs.
Yeah, Gaskin and Ahmed.
Yep.
Ahmed has looked good the last 2 weeks, so much so that Miami released Jordan Howard. With Myles Gaskin set to come back at some point this year.
Next week, right?
What's that?
I think next week, right?
Maybe.
I think his IR ends after this week.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they'll be activated immediately, though, either.
True.
So, and I haven't seen anything really one way or the other on that. So his IR might end, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be activated.
Yeah.
So, first off, looking at Miami's matchup, Denver week 11, not the best, not the worst. Neutral, for the most part. Jets, Bengals, plus matchups. Chiefs, neutral. New England, not great. Raiders, neutral.
One thing he has going for him is his game script.
Yes.
In all these games.
It is. I think he's a lot like Kalen Balazs when we have this conversation. To where, just like with Balazs when Jackson comes back or even Troy Maine Pope, you have questions. With Ahmed, when Gaskin comes back, you have to question how's the workload going to fall. But until that happens, that's something that I really feel like you have to ride. He's flex play this week, and I think that he's easy start against the Jets and the Bengals.
I mean, it's for as long as Gaskin's out, you are definitely playing him next week. I mean, or this upcoming week, even against Denver, this they're not going to score enough points to keep up with Miami unless defensively they get a couple touchdowns, or one of the running, or if the running game gets going. But with how good Miami's looked, this should be like, even if he's not efficient, he should see 20 touches in this game if they're up, and just kind of let the running game and the defense coast them to another victory. Same can be said against the Jets. Cincinnati, I think, is the first matchup where game pace could, like, this game could be more, or could be closer than expected. But at that point, Gaskin could be back, and we're talking, something could, we could be looking at something completely different at that point. But over the next two games, if there's no Gaskin, Ahmed is a flex RB2 player for those games.
Yeah, and I'm looking at right now just kind of points allowed to running backs and how that shakes out, and I'm noticing something very, very important, and that is that game script matters more than you would think. Also, the Broncos are not nearly as good as you would think against the run. But you look at the teams that are at the bottom in points allowed to running backs, the Seahawks, Saints, Falcons, Bucks. Teams that put up points.
Yep.
Not teams that have notoriously great defenses. Sans, Buccaneers, they've been above average. But teams that put up points you're not running a lot against them. So that does bode a little bit worse for the Bengals as their offense continues to click. But game script's an important thing to keep in mind. Just an observation as I was looking. We always take game script into account, but that is really showing up this year where, you've got running backs at play. So, especially if you're looking for them to not perform, just look and see how much your team's going to have to throw. So, probably kind of an obvious statement the more I think about it, but definitely something that bears worth pointing out.
I agree.
Hawkinson for Tyler Boyd, do I accept? Yeah, dynasty or redraft, and we'll get you an answer on that.
Basically, short answer, dynasty, yes, redraft, no.
Yeah. Especially if there's any form of tight end premium. Redraft.
I would not trade Boyd for Hawkinson.
No, I would not either. Tight end.
Unless you have insane depth and you are in dire need of a tight end play, then sure. I think you can make an argument for it, but Boyd is another high floor type of player.
Yeah, or it's any form of
a premium. Yeah.
Premium. Yeah, if it's any form of tight end premium, then that changes that. But on the surface, no. A wide receiver with decent floor that you can guarantee is probably going to be within the top 24 most weeks is way more valuable than a tight end where 2 to 16 are typically separated by less than 5 points.
Yeah, you're looking at Boyd over his past 4 games, 7 or more targets, 1 over 10. He went for 40 yards last week, which sucks, but he had a 100-yard game at 67. He scored twice during that span. He's playing 70-ish% of the snaps over the past 3, got 75% or higher. Obviously, they're phasing out AJ Green a little bit more. Washington, New York, Miami are his next 3. The next 2 are great matchups in terms of actual matchups. Miami's a good game script matchup, especially if pace of play is as high as I think.
So, and to my point, points per game. Kelsey and Kittle, 15.5, 13.3. They're your obvious really good ones, right? We always have that elite tier of tight end.
It's just one tight end right now.
Yeah.
God damn it, Kittle. Why you got to get
Kittle got hurt. But looking at points per game, Kelsey Kittle, 15.5 and 13.3. Beyond that, from Darren Waller in the third, or for Darren Waller, who's tight end 3 on a points per game basis at 10.2, all the way down to Eric Ebron at tight end 15. You're separated by less than 5 points a game. 5 points is what separates 1 from 3. Kelsey from Waller. Sorry, 5.3. To where if you go 5.3 from 3 at Darren Waller, which would be all the way down to 4.9 points a game. If you take 5 points off of that,
Yeah.
you're down at the tight end. You're at Anthony Ferkser. So
You're down to the backup tight end range.
that's just why tight ends in redraft don't necessarily hold that value. There's not enough variance outside of tight end premium, unless you're George Kelsey or Travis Kittle. Jesus. George Kittle or Travis Kelsey. Not enough value at tight end premium without tight end premium to justify giving up any type of running back or wide receiver asset there.
Yeah, I mean, we both love Hawk. But if you're trying to compete, boy, it just gives you the points you need. Hawk, it's just what we talk about. You're hoping with your streaming tight ends to get 40 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he's the tight end 3 overall, but
which the highest scoring tight end this week was Gronk, who had over 40. He had to get like 47 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. That's how bad tight ends were because there's no Kelsey.
Yeah, Hawkinson's the tight end 3, but he's also only 0.3 of a point ahead of. Oh man, there's only a full point per game ahead of Hayden Hurst or Noah Fant. He's on the same plane as Jonnu Smith on a points per game basis. So
he's nearly 6 points behind Kelsey, and it's basically Kelsey tier break, and then you're next. Hasn't been pretty
with healthy tight ends.
With healthy tight ends, yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool.
All right. Previews.
Let's go ahead and do some previews. Let me get logged in here. I'm gonna bet as we go.
I gotta do the same thing.
I actually decided I'm gonna bet as we go this week versus betting on Sunday morning like I have been doing. I did not have a good week last week.
I had Minnesota. Thank fucking God they finally won a Monday night game with Kirk Cousins. So I'm just glad I didn't parlay it. But I hit on the Vikings last night and the under. The under was probably the easiest thing ever. Like 44.5 points. Like with all that was a gift in my opinion. But
sure.
There are some lines so far that I do like.
Oh, good Lord.
I just
of course.
pull it up too.
Every time I do this, I get yelled at by the stupid fucking GeoComply plugin on desktop because it doesn't like me.
It doesn't like to work for me.
It does work for me. Like, I haven't had a problem with it for the last 4 or 5 Sundays.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, nah, forget it. We're going to tell you to go eat a dick. So
I do like the Cardinals system.
Yeah.
This game we'll talk about.
So apparently I'm not doing this right now. Okay. I guess I am doing this on Sunday again. Cardinals Seahawks. Cardinals plus 3.5. Plus 148 on the money line. I do like the Cardinals here, actually. Like the points, don't hate the money line. 57.5 is the over-under here, and that's an obvious thing where, yes, you're starting everybody. But
that's healthy. That's a healthy. So the last time they met, they did not reach this point. That was right. Like, that was almost the game that Murray figured his shit out. Because he looked bad first half, they figured the shit out second half, and they've been on a tear since. 3.5, that feels really good with a game that should finish 3 points around in terms of who wins this game.
No, it should be a very, very fun game to watch. And, 57.5 is, I think, the highest over-under I've seen this year.
I think I've seen it maybe one other time. There's only one other game that's even close to that this week, and that's the Chiefs Raiders Sunday night game. So in terms of point scoring this week, I think teams are settling in. We're not going to get the massive blow up games that we got early on in the season, especially with injuries and stuff like that. So for this game, like, it could be a shootout. I'm staying away from the point total. I may live bet it to see where they're at. Both teams could go nuclear at any point in time. Russell Wilson's looked bad the last 2 weeks, but still Wilson.
Wilson's thrown a lot of picks when they haven't been able to use the running game as much.
If Chris Carson is back, that's a big.
It's a big boost.
Big thing.
Yeah, because Russell Wilson has thrown some picks, not being able to use the running game. Boneheaded ones, too. Things you wouldn't normally expect from him. As far as who you're starting here, though, it's literally everybody. It's got to be. It's Christian Kirk, Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, DeAndre
If
Hopkins.
they got a pulse, you play them.
Yeah, they got a pulse, you play them.
If they have a fantasy pulse, you play them.
As we like to say, if they have a pulse, you go ahead and go for it here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely like that. All right. Falcons Saints, because I don't have a whole lot else to talk about. Falcons plus 4.5, plus 194 here. Even with the Saints running out Jameis Winston, they're plus 194. Over under is 51. Couple things at play here. One, you got to watch Calvin Ridley, and you have to watch for any indication who the Saints are starting. We assume it's going to be Jameis Winston. Taysom Hill, I don't like him to hit this. If Calvin Ridley doesn't go, I don't like him to hit this because, unfortunately, we've seen Atlanta's point totals trend down since Ridley had his foot injury. So, plus 194 on Atlanta, plus 4.5. I think 4.5 is probably a relatively reasonable bet.
Yeah. I mean, it depends what Falcons we get show up. I'm trying to pull up the Saints here. Defensively, they've been a lot better since the bye week. Especially because obviously it's Tampa Bay. They've had good matchups. They've played some good and bad offenses in here. We don't know what we're gonna get from from Winston.
Oh, I know what we're gonna get from Winston.
Yeah, I know. We can literally get anything. Like this could be, we could get the 3-3 game where I may just bet the over. I may stay away from the spread and money lines until I get just to see what the Saints are actually doing. They're not playing Taysom Hill majority of this game. It's going to be Winston. It's just how much do they get cute, and how much do they rely on the running game? I mean, this could be just a very heavy Kamara game. Try to control the clock, not score a lot of points, play defense. Or defense has looked a lot better lately. Then just get out of there, and this could go under.
This is probably something I'm going to hold until later in the week to see what Ridley's doing and use my $10 free same game parlay on from FanDuel. Is probably what I'm doing with that game. This is probably going to be my $10 risk-free same game parlay.
I may just stay away. I probably won't bet much in this. I think.
I'll take props all over the damn place. Is probably what's going to happen. I'm probably going to prop bet the hell out of it.
Yeah,
but
completely different story.
That's why I'm using the same game parlay on it, so I can prop the hell out of it and alternate spread it. Now, that being said, from a fantasy perspective, Jameis Winston is a fine stream in this matchup. Pick him up. You get confirmation he's starting. You immediately plug him in, and you go. Jameis Winston is a great stream in this matchup. I mentioned it earlier. Against this defense, I'm going to go ahead and stake a claim on it. If you're desperate for wide receiver help, Deontay Harris in the deep game. Draquan Smith got his bell rung. I don't expect him to play this week. Jameis Winston, big arm. I expect him to work the ball deep. Deontay Harris has been the guy that's kind of played a field stretcher role for them. Emmanuel Sanders is interesting, but if you're looking for a YOLO dart throw, it's Deontay Harris for me, with Jameis Winston under center. Alvin Kamara, obviously you're starting him. Michael Thomas, obviously you're starting him. But if you're looking for a deep cut, Deontay Harris.
I'm looking between Harris and Callaway. They look to be more short yardage, at least in terms of depth of target.
That's just what they.
Yeah, just trying to see who would be the true deep threat here. It may not even matter; they all could be threats. Callaway's the better athlete, but I believe Harris is the one that gets the nod more than Callaway. So you're playing Harris regardless. If you need a deep flex option, I don't think I'm getting too cute in this game though, because we know what we've gotten from Winston in years past. We don't know what Winston in Saints.
I know what you got from Winston in years past. It was 2 wide receiver ones, 2 wide receiver in the top 5 out of Mike Evans. I know what we've gotten from him in years past. He has one receiver and a running back who's your second best receiver.
Like Winston, I'm streaming Winston over Mayfield. Like I'm in on Winston. I'm just again goes back to betting. I'm not betting on this game.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see it this week.
I think you're gonna get deep shots. The other person to watch deep, and actually, you know what? I'll change where I'm planting my flag. You're gonna get a last hurrah out of Emmanuel Sanders. I think more so than anything.
He may just lean on those top two.
He's pretty much the only guy that's gotten deep balls this year. I think. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to back off of Deontay Harris, and I'm going to throw that dart throw on Emmanuel Sanders. I think Emmanuel Sanders is your deep cut this week.
All right.
So you are starting the wide receiver 2 for the Saints, which
you start, yeah. Like you can maybe fuck around and even start Latavius Murray. It wouldn't shock me at all if they run more in this game.
Try to protect it, but I do think they push the ball more downfield than they have with Drew Brees, which is why I think you're going to get a big week out of Sanders.
Yeah.
As far as the Falcons go, a lot of what you do there depends on Calvin Ridley. You're starting Julio Jones. If Ridley's healthy, you're going to go ahead and play Ridley too. Todd Gurley's been very, very serviceable. I don't think you get cute beyond those guys. Even if Ridley doesn't play, maybe transition a little bit of that to Hayden Hurst because, again, tight ends, there's not a lot of variation there. But I'm not going to get cute with Zacchaeus, whatever. Oh, no, Zacchaeus is his last name. Yeah. I'm not going to get cute with Zacchaeus or Powell or Gage if Ridley doesn't go.
Yeah, I think this is Gurley and Julio for sure. Maybe Ryan, if you think this game's going to go over or be a shootout, you're going to play Ryan and Hurst. If you don't think so, then you're not playing. Just depends how you as a person feel about this game. You think the Vegas point total is about right at 51, I think you can probably play Matt Ryan as you think they're going to score some points.
No, Matt Ryan I think is a fine play because I do think they're going to score some points. Yeah. You're absolutely running Matt Ryan out there. Bengals and the Washington football team. Washington favored in this one by 1.5. I like the Bengals money line. They're plus 102.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Alex Smith gets his first win. Burrow, as good as he's looked, has shot himself in the foot a couple times. Maybe this is where they get their first win. Maybe
expect Mixon to be back.
I don't think there's been a word on it. I mean, they expected him to be back last week, and he was the last.
That's why I'm expecting him to be back this week.
Yeah. I like Bengals winning. I can see this flipping back and forth too. So if you think the Bengals are winning, I think you'll probably want to take this line right now.
At plus 102.
This might be the best. This should be the best time you see this spread for it. This wager. I think it'll flip to Cincinnati favored by week's end.
Yeah, I think it will too. And it comes down to the offenses and which offense has a bit more firepower. Obviously, Washington's defense has taken strides in the right direction, but we've seen Burrow still manage to put up points against some good defenses. He struggled against the Steelers. It's really the only game in which you can downright say Joe Burrow and the Ravens. Which you can say Joe Burrow struggled. The Washington defense has gotten better. They're not the Ravens or the Steelers.
Nope.
So
I agree.
That being said, T. Higgins is an every week start at this point.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. Joe Mixon.
He's a buy high in Dynasty too.
Yep.
Fucking buy him.
Yeah, no. Buy T. Higgins. I bought T. Higgins. So T. Higgins is an every week start right now. You're not going to need a ton of throwing in this game, I don't think, but we mentioned Tyler Boyd and his floor. You're okay with Tyler Boyd. AJ Green had a couple of big weeks, and since then has just really kind of fallen off the radar after those 2 good weeks. So I'm looking Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Mixon if he goes, Gio if he doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's, and then for Washington, Gibson,
McLaurin
is an auto start every week, and for season J.D. McKissick, 29 targets his past 2 weeks. Cincinnati's the best offense they've faced in those past 2 weeks. So how can McKissick may fucking get 20 targets?
McKissick's going to get work. So
for some fucking reason, I don't know why he gets any work over Gibson outside of maybe being a better pass blocker. Why are they shying away from Gibson, who's a far better athlete?
Well, that's what he did in college too. The knock on Gibson was he only had 33 rushes, so why are you using him in the passing game?
Raw. That was the only thing that was. We didn't know who he actually
fine as a receiver. So
yeah, it just fucking bothers me, but whatever. There's no over-under in this Detroit-Carolina game yet.
There is no over-under in the Detroit-Carolina game, and I'm assuming that's Matt Stafford related.
And Teddy. That's based on both.
It is based on both. So don't bet this game right now.
This is the easiest. So I'll say this. Come back to this game on Sunday, because if both starting quarterbacks are out, this changes a lot of shit. If they both play, then you're playing your flex-worthy guys, your Moores, your Andersons, your Marvin Jones. If Galladay can't go, you're obviously playing the Hawk, because who else are you going to stream over him?
Yeah, I mean, Carolina, again, we said they play teams closer, and they do. They play teams relatively close. McCaffrey not likely to go again. Mike Davis not been as good, but get right game-ish.
I expect this as soon as they know who's gonna play. Like, in terms of betting, just don't bet this game. Just try to stay away. I wouldn't get cute, especially right now when there's no gauge on who's gonna start or who's gonna play. Just from a betting standpoint, just avoid this game. Just scratch this game off your sheet. At least that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I'm scratching it off my sheet too. As far as fantasy goes, I don't know that there's going to be a ton of target volume in this one.
Wait till Sunday.
Wait till Sunday till you see who's playing. You expect Teddy to go. DJ Moore's been better the last couple weeks. Robbie Anderson we've seen kind of fall off here a little bit. Again, I don't think this is a blow-up game for either guy. I think that they're both wide receiver threes with upside. And as far as the Lions go, again, there's just a lot you have to wait and see. It's Marvin Jones without Galladay. Galladay dealing with a hip issue, has missed the last 2 games. You'll have to see how healthy he is. Have to see what goes on with Stafford. Hawkinson's the only one you can be even relatively confident in. And DeAndre Swift. Swift is a must start at this point.
Sorry, Swift is an every week starter, RB1.
I meant to do a temperature check on DeAndre Swift because he is really taking over lead back there.
He has looked, outside of James Robinson, he has looked like he's the second best rookie running back.
Yep.
In my opinion, obviously JT has his struggles and Clyde has his struggles, but it's Robinson and Swift as the 2 best rookie backs.
Yeah, Swift has looked fantastic.
Yep.
Patriots Texans. Patriots are favored in this one by 2.5. This feels like a trap and something I don't want to try to predict.
If there's anything here, it's Houston money line or the under. Under has better odds. I think there'll be more scoring here. I think the Patriots defense has not looked as bad without Gilmore as people think. I'm with you though. I do not like this game itself.
This is another one that can shift.
Gross.
I think I'm just going to throw a little bit at the Houston money line.
Yeah,
just because
maybe
I think
throw it into your money line parlay just to kind of bump up.
I'm actually just doing a things I like during the show parlay this week. But I do tend to like Houston's money line a bit at plus odds early in the week, and it's just because the offense is more cohesive. They're intact aside from Duke Johnson, which I think is an upgrade, honestly, over David Johnson.
Not saying much.
Yeah. You'll have to watch Gilmore's health. He did not play last week. It was against Baltimore, though, so we just assumed it didn't matter. And guess what? It didn't.
Sadly.
Yeah. Baltimore's become one-dimensional, and teams can key in on that.
They've been one-dimensional since
for a bit.
Lamar Jackson has actually taken over. It's just that for some reason Jackson's running less, and should be no one's surprised the offense is struggling.
Yeah.
Jackson is that offense.
Yep. But right, Texans, Patriots. Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, I think are both okay starts this week. This is a lot like the Carolina game, Carolina Detroit, where I don't expect there to be a ton of points, so I don't expect there to be a reason for a ton of volume. But with as good as those two, especially Cooks has been lately, I don't really know how you fall off of that. I'm steering away. Deshaun Watson has not been a must start this year, and I would steer away if you have a better streaming option this week. It's the two wide receivers for Houston and Duke Johnson because running backs are kind of in shambles, even though it's not a great, fantastic matchup. Mentioned Damian Harris having running back 2 upside most weeks. I think Damian Harris is fine. Jacoby Myers will get the majority of the target work. Cam Newton, I don't want to steer towards either. So, despite the fact that it is Houston, their defense has been relatively trash. There's just not enough there for him to really have a blow up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's stream.
He's streamable.
There's a lot of stream worthy plays. Cam, Harris, Myers for New England. Houston, Fuller, Cooks. I agree. Watson just feels sexy, but sure, if you want to, Duke should get the volume again. I think he had like 90-something% of the snaps last week in opportunity share. They're playing Duke because he's a starting running back. If you need, that's
agreed. Eagles Browns. Eagles come in as 3-point underdogs at Cleveland. It's basically the home field difference.
Yep.
So
this looks so gross.
It does. I really think Cleveland manages to win this one too.
I don't even want to bet this game because both teams have such a polar. They're bipolar teams. Nick Chubb being back helps Cleveland be more balanced, and they should win this game. Philly is just trash. They're trash, and then they find a way to look good for a little bit, then they're trash again. I think I take Cleveland.
I think I take Cleveland.
I'll take the 3 points, I think. I'm fine with that.
I was going to take Cleveland outright.
Or that too.
Better odds on the 3 points, but I'm not convinced they'll win by 3.
I mean, Cleveland in a money line parlay, I like.
Yeah. Fantasy-wise, Chubb and Hunt on Chubb, Hunt, Sanders, it's a running back game. And I don't love any.
Feed the ball to Sanders for the love of fucking God.
Yeah, and I don't
looks so good.
Love anything else here, like in the least bit at all.
No.
Maybe tempted to go out and be like, well, Travis Fulgham, but
now with fucking Alshon Jeffrey,
not with everybody back,
Rager, and I don't know.
Fulgham had 1 reception on 5 targets last week because you can.
They should be playing him over Jeffrey. I don't know why Jeffrey even saw the snaps he saw. Jeffrey is washed and done. Just let the man go for tires somewhere. Please.
Eagles' offense is in complete disarray. So it's running backs in this game and nothing else for me.
Jarvis Landry. He gets some targets. Dallas Goedert, if he's healthy, he's healthy. It's this game. I'm going to shift this. This game is the exact opposite feeling that this beer is giving me. Again, I am drinking Bart Fights. This is a Buzzbomb, local brewery out of Springfield, Illinois. This is their bourbon barrel-aged Bart Fight Brown. This is aged 15 months on 4 Roses barrels.
Ooh.
With that said,
that piqued my interest.
It looks thin. It is relatively thin. It is a brown ale. It's not supposed to be heavy. A lot of cherry, a lot of vanilla on this. You can definitely taste that it's been aged for a long time. You get a lot of fruity flavors to it.
It's 4 Roses.
Yeah, exactly. It's 13%, so it is a bit boozy. Again, it should be aged in a barrel for 15 months.
It's a long time to age. One thing with 4 Roses, though, that jumps in that they do different than any other distillery is their yeast profiles. and the esters you get off of those yeast profiles tend to provide a lot of floral and fruity notes. It gives their bourbon a little bit more character than a lot of others because they do put a ton of focus on yeast and different strains and what they can give to a bourbon. So I'm not surprised at all that it imparted a bunch of fruit on that brown ale.
Yeah, I get a lot of cherry, get a lot of that reddish, darker fruit to it.
Yeah.
Brighter than I expected, but again, if it's fruity from the barrel, it makes sense. Brown, not going to be a heavier type of a darker ale, so it makes sense that it's a bit thin. But it's thin in a good way. I really hate that the term thin when it comes to drinking beer is used negatively a lot more than it should be. Because a beer is thin doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just
no, and I don't think it is. When you talk about a whiskey being thin, then yes, it's not necessarily a
different.
Good thing.
Yes, that's
when you talk about a beer being thin, though, it just means it's drinkable to me. Whereas you get some of those barrel-aged stouts that are super thick and like drinking syrup that only come in bombers. You can't finish a bomber. I talked to Andrew about this when I was in there a couple weeks ago. I'm happy that the bombers are starting to go away and people are starting to release things in like 2-pack cans and stuff. Because crack a bomber of something that's stupid heavy, it's hard to finish by yourself. Because it's like drinking freaking syrup.
Yeah, there's some 16-ounce cans that are just ridiculously hard to stomach because it's either overly heavy, sweet, medicinal, boozy if it's a sour. I agree.
Thin in a beer, not a bad thing. It means it's drinkable, has good flavor, you're golden. Thin in a whiskey, not a good thing. I'm going to go ahead and review this now, one, because I'm almost out of it, and two, because there's just nothing on the schedule coming up that I like more than this beer. So I should have used this when we were talking about Jacoby Myers, and I wanted to hold it, and I didn't. So we're just going to go back and compare this beer to Jacoby Myers because it's freaking delicious. Talking about everything I wanted in a wide receiver being Jacoby Myers. This is everything I wanted in a Northeast IPA. It is pleasantly juicy, super hazy, very, very drinkable, doesn't have a lot of booze to it, not highly bitter, which is one thing I tend to steer away from in IPAs is a ton of bitterness, but also anything that's super piney or resiny. This is not that. Very fruity, very juicy, which... Well, I can't remember the name. Squishy Gummy. Really makes sense. Note-wise, there's definitely some grapefruit there, but I also get some stone fruit off of it, which makes it not quite as acidic as some other IPAs taste. You get a lot of citrus off of things, and it tends to blend to some flavors that I'm not the biggest fan of. This is like the quintessential perfect IPA to me. If I'm drawing up an IPA, could not do it any better than this. Just like if I'm drawing up a receiver that I want on my fantasy team, can't do it much better than Jacoby Myers.
That may be my favorite built analogy reference for you. If you had to build Hopper's favorite style of receiver, the mold is Jacoby Myers.
It really is. As long as he continues to get volume and have a roll, then yeah, perfect. I'll have a lot of Jacoby Myers shares going forward.
Oh yeah.
Steelers Jaguars. You've got the Steelers favored by 10.
That feels like road games are always tough. Double-digit favorite road games are this looks like a juicy Pittsburgh lineup. They should beat the piss out of Jacksonville. Look what you did. Look what they did against Dallas. This is a game like just don't bet this. Just don't bet this, Brent. I don't know how you feel.
No, I feel the same way. I don't like double-digit spreads, as you know. 10 in this feels like it's relatively safe, but who knows? The other thing you don't really know at Jacksonville yet, and you haven't heard, is could Minshew potentially be back? It's not like Luton looked good enough to keep him on the bench when he's healthy. So, I think the offense becomes a little bit more potent in that regard. I don't like a rookie against the Steelers in the least bit, but 10 just feels steep. Although taking negative 460 on Pittsburgh in a easy parlay, I think is good.
Oh yeah, I have no issue.
As far as fantasy options, James Robinson and DJ Chark for Jacksonville, and that's just because they're the two lead dogs at their position, and I don't necessarily like them a ton. You got better options. I think you can feel relatively confident staying away from them.
Honestly, right now, Pittsburgh's run defense the past 3 weeks, 265 to Baltimore, 144 to Dallas, 139 to Cincinnati, not with Joe Mixon. James Robinson is a fine play this week. It might be the only reason why Jacksonville gains in this game.
All right, James Robinson prop bet. Got it.
Yeah.
DJ Chark, DJ Chark is flex.
He's getting Joe Hayden. I don't play Chark. I benched him last week because even with Jair out, this is a run heavy. This should be a run heavy team, especially with Minshew out.
And last week,
Aiden's a tough draw for Chark too.
Calling him last week was wind too. So
yeah, wind too. Yep. Of course.
As far as the Steelers go, if they're relevant, start them. Deontay, Juju, Claypool, Ben, Connor.
All three receivers are flex wide receiver twos. Connor should, in terms of game script, get a run. Hopefully, more
should
so
be good game script for Connor.
If they're supposed to blow out Jacksonville, they got to get points somewhere. So I still think that.
Yeah. Tennessee and Baltimore. 6.5 points.
I hate this. This screams Tennessee. This also screams this spread will not stay this high.
I'm taking the spread right now when I can get it at 6.5 points.
Yeah.
I am taking Tennessee at plus 6.5.
I think Tennessee can outright beat Baltimore.
I think they can too. It's plus 220 odds at the moment.
Yeah, but there's also Tennessee's also played they have yet to look great against any top tier opponent. And while Baltimore has a struggle, this is a team that's built to maintain a lead, not get back a lead.
Right.
I don't like 6.5. I think Baltimore wins this game. I'm going to wait. If I'm betting Baltimore, wait to see if this line can move down to even 5.5. I still don't like that. I hate the fact that this opened at 6.5. That's a lot of points with the struggling offense in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm throwing myself on a plus 6.5 for Tennessee right now. Is what's happening because it's like you just said. It's a lot of points for an offense that is not putting up points versus a running game with Tennessee that's designed to wear you out and ground and pound and eventually get you there.
These teams are built the same. They're essentially the same built team. Running the football and play defense.
Except Tennessee can be potent in the pass game.
That's the thing. Is that Tannehill right now is a better passer than Jackson. Jackson's a more of a threat. If Baltimore, if they came out and said that they want to get Jackson more involved running the football, I think Baltimore can beat the piss out of Tennessee. If they want to get back to where what got them successful, instead of trying to make Jackson a pocket passer, just let him play football. Stop trying to cage the guy. It'll help the entire offense as a whole. Tease Tennessee. I think if you do a teaser parlay, this is a great tease. 6.5. Get Tennessee as a plus 13. That's
hell. Just get Tennessee at a touchdown.
Yeah, it's good now. I'm saying it if you're doing a teaser parlay, this is even better. There's no way Baltimore beats them by 2 touchdowns.
Well, the other thing to remember also, though, remember what Tennessee did to Baltimore last year in the playoffs.
That was kind of
blueprint for containing Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's been the template. They put speed on Jackson. They shadowed him. It's the same thing when the Chargers beat him 2 years ago in the playoffs. They put speed as a spy on Jackson, so Jackson wouldn't beat him. Right now, Baltimore's beating themselves by not letting Jackson run the football more.
The other thing with Tennessee you have to keep in mind too is they do have a more potent receiving game than what Baltimore does. Also, it's not just Tannehill.
Far better receiving options. I agree.
AJ Brown, Corey Davis, who has looked good at times this year as well. So, as far as fantasy goes,
a small bet money line Tennessee.
That's what I'm doing. No to Mark Ingram. Does not look good at all. Dobbins is flex, but I mean, nobody's getting enough volume there to really throw yourself on any running back grenade.
It might, if you're playing kickers, you're playing Tucker.
Yeah.
It's hard to even trust Mark Andrews because he's been so inconsistent.
Kicker advice. There you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Play Tucker, guys.
Don't chase Willie Snead points because that's always a trap.
I think it's just Jackson. And like, I know Jackson struggled, and you can reach a point where, don't start, don't just, don't follow the saying, start your studs. But Jackson's ceiling is so insane that I think benching him is always tough to do. Because I think you play Jackson. I think that's it. I think that's the play this week. Is just play Lamar Jackson. From Mark Ingram, or not Mark Ingram. You probably have to play Mark Andrews because you spent the high draft pick on him, and you may not have somebody else to actually play ahead of him. I think that might be it. Marquise Brown's fucking. He's cuttable, I think. He's cuttable. He's wide receiver 51 right now.
Yeah, and I don't remember him having a great week this year. So
he's had one game. He was a wide receiver 16 that one. Or in one week he was wide receiver 16. That's been his highest finish.
Yeah. For Tennessee, you're obviously playing Derrick Henry. Other than that, AJ Brown, I wouldn't get cute with Corey Davis. AJ Brown's been the one. Corey Davis has some weeks where he has flex value. This is not one of them to me. Yep. Jonnu Smith, because he's tied for tight end 3, and you're just looking for any points you can get out of a tight end. But I don't love it. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to like fantasy-wise here. It's Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and, tight end starts to Andrews and Jonnu Smith because fuck it, why not?
Yeah. Like the spread screams Baltimore should lead throughout this game, making Tennessee have to throw more, which could put a little salt in the water on Derrick Henry, but a bump to AJ Brown, a bump to Jonnu Smith, bump to Tannehill. And I agree, I'm not playing Corey Davis with any confidence, but where the spread's at, the point total is at 48.5, so it's mediocre. But the spread screams Baltimore should win this game handedly, or should win this game comfortably, which makes Tennessee have to probably roll a little bit more. But maybe Davis gets very slight bump into flex range. I think that.
All right, Dolphins Broncos.
Yay!
Yay!
Miami 3.5 favorites on the road. I like Miami to beat him by a touchdown. I feel comfortable and confident saying that the running game and 2 if needed.
Well,
and beat them by a touchdown or more.
And elite defense, and I don't think Drew Lock plays, honestly. I think that Drew Lock misses this week, and they're going to be up against Brett Rippon. So get on this game early, and take the Dolphins spread, which has better odds than the money line. So take the Dolphins spread and call it good, because I'm with you. I do think that they win this game by a touchdown, especially if Brett Rippon's starting.
You can alternate, most sites will allow for alternate line. You can alternate line this to even 5.5, 6.5, and I think I'd be good with it. Do it now before. I expect the Dolphins. I expect people to bet heavy on the Dolphins 3.5 line. I expect this to probably close between 4.5 and 5, which greatly reduces the actual odds on the game. So get the Dolphins now. It pays to look at the Lions early in the week because of this. Dolphins 3.5 is the best you'll see this week.
Yep, and we talked about this fantasy wise a little bit in the intro. Running game for the Broncos is pretty much fallen off the planet. Dolphins defense has been good. So I'm steering clear of Gordon and Lindsey if I can help it. Jerry Jeudy's got flex value. Fant is just another fuck it tight end. Jerry Jeudy has some flex value. As far as Miami goes, Gaskin's not going to be back this week, I don't believe. So Salvin Ahmed, I think game script and everything lean towards making him a start. RB2 with upside. I think that Ahmed's a must start. As far as Parker and Preston Williams go, Wide receiver 3s with upside.
Well, you're not playing. I think Preston's out for the year. So
Is
Parker,
Wait, I thought Preston played.
Jakeem Grant.
It was
no.
Are you
Jakeem
sure?
Grant is the wide receiver 2.
I know Jakeem Grant had. He had. That was week 9.
I think Preston's out.
IR. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, foot sprain.
Oh, he's out.
Foot sprain.
He may be back at some point, but right now he's out.
That's the part I missed. No wonder Jakeem Grant was so fucking involved last week. I don't expect Jakeem Grant to have to be so fucking involved this week, so it's Parker and nobody else. Gesicki, I guess. Bucket tight end, right?
Yeah, sure. Doesn't feel great.
Forget I threw Devontae or Preston Williams out
We'll
there.
just scratch that from the editing that we don't do.
Yeah, I'll edit that. I won't edit that. Apparently that was a development that occurred last week. So,
Jets Chargers.
Yeah. Chargers favored by 8.5 in this one.
That even feels
so hard to bet that.
That like
because
Jets
the
have
Chargers
Darnold back.
Because the Chargers defense has been so bad. Even though the offense has been able to relatively keep up with things.
But it's the Jets.
It's the
and
Jets.
They're at home.
But
Chargers money line and your money line parlay. If you're looking to do a big 8-9 team parlay, Chargers should be.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at 8.5. It's when you tease down to 6.5 and call it good to me.
If you're doing a teaser parlay, you can get Chargers at 2.5. I think that's.
You're more than safe at 2.5. I'd say
You're
get them
more
at
than
6.5, and you're probably fine.
Yeah.
I just don't
teasers
like
are generally a 6 point, like alternate money line.
Alternate spread is what I'm going
yeah.
for. 6.5.
Yep.
That being said, Chargers. It's whoever the lead back might. You're flexing Kalen Ballage, basically. Justin Herbert's a great start this week. Keenan Allen, you're starting every week. You can even roll with Mike Williams if you really feel like it, but he hasn't done a whole lot. As far as the Jets go, it's Jamison Crowder.
And Mims is I'll have to look at what Mims. I thought Mims has gotten some.
Not really.
I thought he had decent target volume.
No. Well, 8 last time out, 3 the game before, 7 the game before. No touchdowns.
But it's the snaps too. He's got
nothing over 60 yards. I don't give a shit about snap.
Well, but still, he's out there. First off, you're probably not flexing a Jets receiver if you can avoid it, don't play. I think that's Crowder. Crowder played week 9.
Yeah, problem is Perriman came back, and that is kind of what hurt Mims' target volume a little bit. So
I mean, Mims was the leading target getter last time out. Crowder had 2 targets in that Thursday night game.
That was with Flacco.
Play nobody.
Yeah, play nobody. We're debating this too much.
Fuck it. Why would we be debating Jets receivers?
That was also with Flacco too, not Darnold. So
true. Still, play nobody.
Just play nobody. Sam Darnold if you need a stream, I guess. That's it. Play nobody. Move along. We don't need to talk about this any fucking more. Oh, my phone's dying. That's good. That's where I'm betting from. Cowboys Vikings. Vikings favored by 7.5. This is a fucking trap.
They've looked good the last 3 games. They found a way to actually win at Soldier Field without the running game. Dallas is still a hot mess. 7.5 feels like a lot, but
FanDuel just yelled at me because I've been logged in for 37 minutes and not placed a bet yet.
I honestly don't really hate the spread as much as I probably should. I mean, Cook and is going to go Cooks have a far easier matchup than a Monday night. That's the one saving grace. Dallas's defense is not garbage.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say that Minnesota's look good because they just looked less bad than the Bears last night, which is not.
They also beat the pants off of Green Bay just a few weeks ago in Green Bay.
Yeah, but
Despite all the problems against Detroit, they beat Detroit. Despite all the problems Monday night, they beat. Is Dallas better than Chicago? No. No way.
Maybe actually,
No,
especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Bullshit. No. They're not fucking better than.
I would take Ben DiNucci over what the fucking Bears have been doing.
There's no fucking no. Spread's probably too high at 7.5, anyways. But
it is too high at 7.5. That's another one.
I do like minus 105 though. I think that's a bit fair. All right. Anyways, over under is 48. Don't like the game total too much here. I don't know if Dallas can even score enough points. Even
Dalton's back, but it's going to depend. I think you'd hope Dalton can keep pace with it. Is Dalton better than Nick Foles?
Yes. If the pass rush can get there, then it doesn't matter. This secondary, I would no. Dallas 7.5 plus 7.5 because the Vikings pass rush doesn't get there. It doesn't matter who's throwing the football. They have one of the best three receiver sets in football with Cooper, Gallup, Lamb. So
I was just
going to
take the under or take the over in points, honestly.
Yeah, I can see this going to like 54.
But actually, if I hate 7.5 right off the bat, I should probably take Dallas plus 7.5. Because I hate the Vikings to win by 7.5. I like them more at 5.5. But anyway, neither here nor there. Alternate spreads with Hopper is what we're doing.
We do love alternate spreads.
I should just do an alternate spreads parlay one week and see how well that goes.
I've been building one while we've been talking.
Nice.
Some of these lines are really good, and I want to get a part of it.
Yeah, I'm up to 7 teams in this parlay. As far as fantasy goes, by the way, because we're still doing a show, not just making bets. As far as fantasy goes, Justin Jefferson, love it. Adam Thielen, yes. Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins, you can consider him a stream. CeeDee Lamb, yep. We don't need to say
all receivers, I think, are playable. Honestly, I don't think the pass rush is great. I mean, it's a bad pass rush. Right?
Yeah, the only thing you worry about on the Dallas side is how much is Dalton going to spread it around. We saw a little bit of that. So they could all be involved. But CeeDee Lamb's the one that I really want to trust. Cooper and Gallup if you have to. I mean, they're both solid flex options. Talking about Cooper as a flex, but yeah,
spreads suggest that Dallas should be throwing and playing from behind. I think with how bad the Vikings secondary is, I think Dalton actually connects in some of these mishaps, and I think all three some flex value. Obviously, Cooper and Lamb over Gallup. But I think you could do worse.
Packers Colts.
I don't like this. I kind of like Green Bay 2.5.
I like Green Bay money line.
But yeah, that too. I think the Colts play worse against.
I think they do too, and I don't see how the hell the Colts. The Colts remind me of Tennessee a couple years back, where I just don't see how the hell they keep winning games.
That defense is really good.
Defense is good, but the offense is not.
Green Bay's weakness is the running game.
Nyheim Hines is a start.
Hines is a start. I know there's people that are going right back to the Jonathan Taylor well.
I'm not one of them.
If you're playing them, this is a great matchup. Packers are fucking horrible against the run.
Nah, he's in timeout.
But look, you can't trust JT. This feels like a game if the Colts get up, though. It's Wilkins and fucking Taylor and Hines get stuff. Like, Hines has been 2 touchdowns or a bust. That's Hines. There is no middle ground.
Green Bay gives up more touchdowns than anybody else. It's Nyheim Hines this week for me. Nyheim Hines is a start.
I still think Taylor's a flex play. It's just you're not confident, but I think he's still a flex play. What saves Taylor is that he gets the first crack at it, and if he doesn't fuck up, he's in for a huge game. If he does, which could probably happen. Hines is still a play. He's
less
still playing
than 10 carries the last 2 weeks, and they beat Tennessee 34-17.
That's because he fumbled and got hurt. Either way, you're playing Hines because Green Bay should be able to keep up and keep score. I don't see the Colts blowing out the Packers
against Detroit's stellar run defense.
Yeah,
22 yards. 60 against Cincinnati. That's actually was relatively good. 57 against Cleveland. Did fall in for a touchdown. Taylor's flex.
He's flex. Like he's not like you're not trusting Taylor, but he's a flex because of the matchup. I do agree. Green Bay money line. I think the Colts would have probably lost if AJ Brown caught that football on Thursday night. That game terms just changes completely in terms of scoring.
I'm just thinking, AJ Brown catches that football, and they
He
get and they get
I'm slightly drunk.
17 points off of that catch from AJ Brown.
Yeah,
it's a 17-point catch.
I'm just saying that game feels different.
I know what you're saying.
I know. Either way, so for fantasy wise, obviously Rodgers, Adams, Jones, maybe Lazard. If you want to.
Yeah, I don't see this being a huge game for the wide receivers, so it's probably just Adams and Jones on the other side for me. I like Lazard. I want to see how they split that with him and Valdez-Scantling, though, and this is not a good game to just say, okay, go get it. Chiefs Raiders.
Chiefs revenge game for what happened in Kansas City against Oakland. Or not Oakland, against Raiders earlier this year. Kansas City covers this. Like
Kansas City.
I think they beat the fucking pants out of the Raiders. I do. I think they go out there, they put the dick on the table, and Mahomes throws for like 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like dumb shit like
that. Okay. Like I can see that. I really can, and I do think that this probably is a revenge game for them.
Yeah. They're pissed about the Raiders gloating in Kansas City when they beat them. Deservingly so. The Raiders played out of their minds that game. And they are like, I was shocked to see their record. I did not know that the Raiders are 6-3, 7-3. That's shocking to me. They've only lost 3 games this year. And they get no respect.
Okay.
Like the fact that they're at home and they're 7-point dogs is just shocking to me. But I'm still taking the Chiefs to beat them by.
Yeah, I am too. As far as what you do fantasy-wise here, though, it's...
if they have a pulse play, 56.5 over-under, I think this goes over still.
You think it goes over at 56.5?
It went over last time out in Kansas City. Better weather. I think the Chiefs put the foot on the neck. I think this all falls on the Raiders and how many points they can score.
Well,
I know. If they keep pace, which I think they will first half, I think this game goes 60 plus.
Right. Okay. I do not see that happening.
Okay.
I would take the under in this, but
ooh.
Yeah, I don't trust the Raiders to hold up their end. I think that Kansas City steps it up defensively and doesn't let that happen, especially because the Raiders are kind of one-dimensional. They spread the ball out a bit, but you don't necessarily see anything blowing up from a receiver standpoint. They don't have one guy that's going to beat you. They play team football, but you don't have high-volume passing. So it mostly falls on the running game and Josh Jacobs to get it done. It's Waller, Jacobs, and maybe Aguilar. He dropped a touchdown last week just because of how good he's been in the red zone. Aguilar's a flex on that end, and then it's your normal cast of characters on the Chiefs side.
Yeah, I'm there. Just, Jacobs and Waller. And then I guess Aguilar.
Yeah, the problem with the Chiefs and picking between Robinson and Hardman is which one
Robinson.
is it? Yeah.
Robinson.
Probably gonna
trust Robinson.
I trust Robinson more because he's done it more, but the one last time I ran Robinson out, it was Hardman, and that just soured me. So, but yeah, it's Robinson if I got to trust one of them.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will.
We got one game. Wait.
No, we don't. That's
Rams Bucks Monday night.
Oh Jesus, do we have to? Okay, yes.
It's the best game left. It's like one of the only games.
All right, Rams Bucks on Monday night. Sorry, food's done. I'm trying to eat.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
You're good. No, I mean we still have to talk about the Rams Bucks regardless whether I get food or not. Rams Bucks on Monday night. What's the spread? I already closed FanDuel.
3.5. Bucks are favorite. Plus 160 Rams money line. Over under 47. That feels low. 47. Rams don't play great against good teams.
No,
honestly.
47 feels low. I like the Bucks money line. As far as everything else go, Ronald Jones is still taking lead back work in Tampa Bay. So it's Ronald Jones, Chris Godwin. Mike Evans has been so up and down. You can't do a whole lot with that. Antonio Brown hasn't shown any signs of life yet.
I'm taking the over prop bet over everything. I think this game's a shootout.
I do like the over.
I do like, yeah.
Cup, Reynolds has actually out-targeted Robert Woods here recently, so you could go ahead and start Josh Reynolds, I guess.
Start out. You can probably play anybody with a pulse. I think 47 is a bad number. I think this game total should be mid-50s. 52.5 should be the lower end of it.
I think this might be a little more defensive than you're anticipating. I do think it goes over 47, but I don't think it's going to be such a barn burner to where you can start everybody with a pulse. I think that I'm a little bit off on Mike Evans, given what Ramsey was able to do.
He will get Ramsey. Yeah.
And what Ramsey was able to do with DK Metcalf, I'm off on Mike Evans. I like Chris Godwin. I don't think you can run Braid or Gronk out there because, again, they're splitting touchdowns and splitting work right now. I like Ronald Jones. Tom Brady's fine this week. On the Rams side, Josh Reynolds has gotten target volume ahead of Robert Woods. Pass rush has been good. We've seen Goff struggle against good pass rushes a bit. So, Goff is a low-end stream for me this week. He hasn't had a ton of good games. Henderson probably falls in for a touchdown. He's got upside as a flex play. Cup and Reynolds, both on that low-end 2 spectrum.
I think all three are fine. I mean, I'm not betching Wood. I mean, I know Reynolds has come on, but that hurts all three of them. If you think it depends, this all falls on how well Goff plays this game, and then if they can, protect him enough to let.
Yeah, Woods is not giving you good outings in 2 of his last 3. So,
all
right, we talked about it. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back at some point next week. And we'll be here on Sunday, 10:15 a.m. Go tune in for that. See ya.
See ya.